The battle for Blossom Lane. The morning calm of Blossom Lane was shattered by a scream that sliced through the suburban quiet. Margaret, a beloved gardener in her late 50s, was pinned against her rose bushes by two hulking security guards hired by the local homeowners association. Her crime? Planting a row of tulips that strayed an inch beyond the approved garden boundary. As her cries echoed, her husband, Daniel, a retired Marine Corps officer who'd traded battlefields for backyard barbecues, felt a primal fury ignite within him. What unfolded next would not only rock their tranquil neighborhood, but also spark a rebellion that would leave everyone questioning. How far would you go to protect your home? Daniel Carter had spent decades honing his instincts in the Marines, leading missions in deserts and jungles where survival demanded precision. Now, at 62, he cherished the simplicity of Blossom Lane, a tree-lined enclave in suburban Virginia where he and Margaret had built their sanctuary. Their home, with its wraparound porch and blooming garden, was a testament to their shared dream of peace. But beneath the neighborhood's charm lurked a shadow. The Blossom Lane Homeowners Association, led by Evelyn Harper, a formidable woman whose obsession with control rivaled any drill sergeant Daniel had ever faced. Evelyn's HOA was infamous for its draconian rules. Hedges couldn't exceed 36 inches. House paint was restricted to 3 shades of beige. Even mailbox designs required approval. For years, residents grumbled but complied, fearing fines or worse. Evelyn, a retired corporate lawyer with a knack for intimidation, wielded her authority like a scepter, her office walls lined with plaques that screamed self-importance. To her, Blossom Lane was her kingdom, and she was its unchallenged queen. That fateful morning, Margaret was kneeling in her garden, her hands deep in the soil, when the guards appeared. Unapproved expansion, one barked, pointing at her tulips. Margaret, ever the peacemaker, tried to explain, her voice gentle, reasoning. But the guards, emboldened by Evelyn's orders, saw her words as defiance. They grabbed her arms, dragging her across the lawn as she stumbled, her screams piercing the air. Neighbors peeked through blinds, frozen in shock, as the scene unfolded like a dystopian nightmare in their idyllic haven. Daniel, in the kitchen brewing coffee, dropped his mug when he heard Margaret's cry. He sprinted outside, his heart pounding with a rage he hadn't felt since his military days. Seeing his wife struggling against the guards, he roared, "Let her go." His voice, honed by years of command, stopped them cold. The guards hesitated, then retreated, but the damage was done. Margaret, bruised and shaken, clung to Daniel as neighbors emerged, their whispers of outrage growing louder. The attack wasn't just personal, it was a spark that ignited a powder keg. Blossom Lane was a close-knit community, and Margaret was its heart, known for her homemade pies and warm smiles. The idea that she could be assaulted over a few flowers was unthinkable. At a hastily called block party that evening, residents shared their own stories. Fines for untrimmed lawns, rejected home repairs, even threats for hosting unauthorized barbecues. The HOA's tyranny had gone unchecked for too long, and now, with Margaret's attack, the dam broke. Daniel, though seething, knew brute force wasn't the answer. His Marine training taught him strategy over impulse. He and Margaret turned their living room into a war room, inviting neighbors to share evidence of Evelyn's abuses. Clara, a retired librarian, revealed how her award-winning rose garden was disqualified for non-compliant mulch. Tom, a high school teacher, recounted months of red tape to fix his leaking roof. Each story fueled their resolve, and Daniel began compiling a dossier. Financial records showing Evelyn's misuse of HOA funds for personal vacations, emails demanding surveillance cameras on every street, and testimonies of selective enforcement. Evelyn, sensing the unrest, doubled down. She hired more guards, their black SUVs patrolling like predators. Cameras sprouted on lampposts, their lenses glinting ominously. To her, dissent was a weed to be crushed. She called an emergency HOA meeting, expecting to quell the rebellion with her usual mix of threats and charm. But she underestimated Daniel, whose quiet demeanor hid a tactician's mind, and Margaret, whose gentle spirit masked a steel core. The night of the meeting, Blossom Lane's community hall buzzed with tension. Over 100 residents packed the room, their faces a mix of fear and defiance. Evelyn sat at the head, her posture rigid, her smile a thin veneer over unease. Daniel and Margaret entered hand in hand, their presence a silent challenge. As the meeting began, Daniel took the floor, his voice steady but commanding, like a general rallying his troops. "We're not here to air grudges," he began, his eyes sweeping the crowd. "We're here to reclaim our home." He presented the evidence with surgical precision, bank statements showing thousands diverted to Evelyn's, business trips, contracts for unnecessary security, and a log of fines targeting specific residents. Margaret stood beside him, her voice softer but no less powerful, recounting her attack and urging her neighbors to stand together. "This isn't about tulips," she said. "It's about our right to live free." The room erupted in murmurs, then shouts. Clara stood, her voice trembling but firm, sharing her story. Tom followed, then others, their voices weaving a tapestry of injustice. Evelyn tried to interrupt, her excuses flimsy budget needs, safety concerns, but the crowd wasn't buying it. Her authority, once ironclad, crumbled under the weight of truth. When Daniel called for a vote of no confidence, hands shot up, a sea of defiance. Evelyn's face paled as the tally confirmed her ousting. She stormed out. Her reign ended not with a bang, but a whimper. The aftermath was electric. The guards vanished, the cameras came down, and Blossom Lane breathed freely for the first time in years. Neighbors gathered on lawns, swapping ideas for a new HOA built on transparency and respect. Daniel, though hailed as a hero, deflected praise, insisting it was a team effort. Margaret, healing but radiant, proposed a community garden project to celebrate their victory. A new board was elected, with Clara and Tom among its leaders, committed to fairness. As spring returned, Blossom Lane blossomed anew. Daniel stood in his garden, planting seeds beside Margaret, their hands working in sync. He reflected on his journey from battlefields to this quiet suburb, where he'd fought not with weapons, but with unity. The neighborhood, once stifled, now thrived with block parties, art fairs, and a sense of belonging. The scars of Evelyn's rule faded, replaced by a community stronger for its struggle. Daniel knew the fight wasn't just about Blossom Lane. It was about standing up to bullies, whether in a boardroom or a battlefield. As he looked at Margaret, her smile brighter than ever, he felt a peace deeper than any he'd known. They'd won not just a battle, but a future one where justice, not fear, defined their home. What do you think? Have you ever faced injustice in your community or witnessed someone stand up to a bully? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Should violence ever be an answer to tyranny, or is unity always the stronger path? Let's hear your perspective. This conversation matters.